Have you ever noticed that when you try to achieve something, you actually push it away from you? The human mind is a mechanism accustomed to control. It wants to determine outcomes, direct probabilities, and speed up time. But the laws of the quantum field operate very differently. There, the outcome is determined not by effort, but by frequency. When you resist, you constrict the flow of the universe, compressing your vibration. Forcing in universal terms means, I don't have it yet. And the quantum field reflects this signal exactly, because it hears what you feel, not what you say. That's why sometimes, no matter how hard you try, things stay the same. Because the field reads the vibration of lack in your subconscious. At the quantum level, everything is a mirror, and this mirror reflects the resonance of your feelings, not your thoughts. As long as you say it's not happening, the field maintains that vibration. However, the universe doesn't want to fight you. It simply reads your frequency and responds accordingly. That's why resistance is a silent yet powerful wave. Invisible, yet it affects everything. When you force something, you unknowingly strangle your own energetic system. Because energy wants to flow, but when you say, it has to happen now, you block that flow. You want to speed up time, but you forget something. At the quantum level, time isn't a line, but a spectrum of frequencies. What you desire may already exist, perhaps in a different vibration, on a different plane of possibility. But to achieve it, you must first align with that possibility. This alignment begins not with effort, but with silence, because silence is the opposite of resistance. The human mind fears the idea of doing nothing. The mind confuses surrender with a lack of control. However, surrender is a conscious force. It is accepting energy as it is. When you stop pushing, you aren't actually giving up. You are opening space for the universe, and that space summons the highest form of possibility. Think of it like a river. If you try to grasp the water with your hands, every drop slips through your fingers. But if you open your hands, the water remains in your palms. Resistance compresses the energy. Surrender expands energy. That's why the greatest transformations often begin when one says, enough. Because at that moment, energy shifts from struggle mode to flow mode. And flow is the natural state of the quantum field. The universe doesn't force anything. It simply operates through resonance. The sun doesn't strive to rise, but rather gives its light every morning. A flower doesn't force time to bloom, but blooms naturally when its season comes. You too are part of this rhythm of life. Letting go of forcing isn't becoming passive. It's allowing the universe to work for you. Because the field always hears you, it simply wants to operate at your frequency. But when your vibration radiates through fear, urgency, or inadequacy, it responds. Yet your true power lies in your ability to exist without forcing anything. Because at the quantum level, it creates not by doing, but by being. The true observer observes the process, not the outcome. Because the process transforms energy. When you resist, you compress energy. But when you observe, energy is released. And in that freedom, the quantum field begins to work on your behalf. When you stop pushing, possibilities quietly approach you. That's why things happen when you stop praying for it to happen. Because in that moment, you have energetically said, it happened. The field hears this and updates your reality accordingly. The quantum field follows the rhythm of your heart, not the tempo of your mind. The heart is timeless. It waits patiently because it knows everything is already arriving at its own frequency. That's why sometimes it seems like nothing is happening, but in reality, everything is happening for you. When you stop pushing, the field begins to hear you. When resistance decreases, awareness expands. When awareness expands, reality rearranges itself. In that moment, you have learned not to fight the universe, but to dance with it. Because you understand, the universe is not your enemy, but your vibrational reflection. And the silent wave of resistance gives way to the melody of trust. In that melody, everything happens exactly as it should, exactly when it should, without any force, simply in harmony with your frequency. The universe hears vibrations, not words. Words are the mind's tools, but they mean nothing to the quantum field. Because the field reads the frequency of your intention. When you say, I want, you're actually sending a signal of lack. You're sending a vibration that means, I don't have it yet. Therefore, at the quantum level, what you feel, not your wish, comes true. The language of frequency is independent of words. It traces the emotional signature beneath your thought. This signature is like a fingerprint. It's unique to each individual and carries an unchangeable identity in the eyes of the universe. Therefore, if there are recurring experiences in your life, they all have the same underlying frequency signature. The pattern doesn't change unless you change, because the field constantly reflects your vibration. This is where what quantum physicists call the observer effect comes into play. Observation fixes probabilities. The way you look at something shapes your perspective. If you constantly ask, why isn't it happening? You're actually observing the frequency of it's not happening. The quantum field amplifies exactly this. Because it's sensitive to the thought patterns you unconsciously repeat. The field is like an echo chamber listening to your energy. It's not what you say, but the emotion with which you say it that resonates. Therefore, trying to think positively isn't enough. You need to transform the vibration underlying that thought. True transformation is an emotional, not a mental event. The subconscious mind speaks through vibrations. It registers feelings, not words. Saying I'm happy only creates a superficial vibration if you have deep-seated fear. But if you feel genuine confidence, the quantum field transforms that confidence into reality. Because the frequency of that confidence selects a harmonious timeline for you from among infinite possibilities. This is the language of frequency, the electromagnetic signature of emotions. Every emotion has a specific vibration range. Fear is low, trust is high. That's why spiritual teachers always say, stay at peace. Because peace means, in the universal language, I am in harmony. The quantum field senses this harmony and responds. Just as two instruments play the same note and their vibrations reinforce each other, miracles occur when your energy resonates with the vibration of the universe. But these miracles are no coincidence. They are simply the natural result of the law of resonance. Your feelings determine the mathematics of the field. Therefore, before every thought, you must ask yourself, what frequency am I on right now? Because the field records this vibration, not your words. If you are constantly connected to your past fears, you will relive the echoes of those fears. But when you change your frequency through awareness, your timeline also changes. The mind carries the records of the past, but the frequency of consciousness determines the energy of the moment. The moment is the point where everything is created. Because in the quantum realm, time is not linear. Past, present, and future vibrate in the same sea of frequencies. Therefore, when you change your emotions, even the meaning of the past changes. If you want to heal your past, you must learn not to fight it, but to change your vibration. Because fighting is resistance, and resistance lowers frequency. The language of the universe is being, not wanting. I want is an action. I am is a state. Therefore, when you begin to say I am, your frequency shifts to a new possibility. The field receives this new vibration and weaves a reality that aligns with it. Every thought is an electromagnetic wave, and this wave calls for a response. If you feel lack within, the universe expands that lack. But if you feel gratitude, you call for the frequency of abundance. Therefore, quantum awareness is learning to work with the chemistry of emotions, because emotions are universal communication codes. The field decodes these codes and rearranges possibilities for you, and the secret is to notice what you feel. Underneath every thought is an emotion, and beneath every emotion is a frequency. The language of frequency is silent yet powerful. The more aware you are, the clearer it becomes. The field's response is always the same. Whatever vibration you are, I amplify it. Therefore, transformation occurs not through effort, but through awareness. Awareness is observing your frequency. As you observe, your vibration changes, because consciousness illuminates a mirror, and every illuminated space begins to transform. The quantum field hears the music within you. Whatever melody you play, it rewrites the universe's symphony to that melody. Therefore, remain silent and listen to your inner frequency. For silence is the purest language of the universe. There is no effort in that language, only harmony. And when you enter that harmony, there is no need for words. The quantum field has begun to work for you. The observer isn't just the observer. They're the silent center that creates reality. When quantum physicists talk about the observer effect, they're essentially reiterating in modern language what ancient wisdom has been saying for thousands of years. Awareness transforms probability into matter. When you look at something, it's no longer just a possibility and takes on a specific form. But this form changes according to your intention, belief, and vibration. Therefore, if there are constantly recurring events in your life, it's no coincidence. It shows where you, as the observer, are fixating your energy. Because the universe is neutral, it simply reflects your perspective. The transformation of the observer begins with a shift in this perspective. If your mind is constantly obsessed with the question, why isn't it happening? The field maintains a constant frequency of not happening. However, when you affirm everything is happening as it should, the possibilities are silently rearranged. The deepest meaning of being an observer is to stop trying to control everything, because control is a mask for fear. The mind, afraid of surrendering to the unknown, wants to calculate every detail. But the quantum field doesn't care about these calculations. It simply responds to resonance. If your vibration is safe, the results will be safe. If you carry fear, the field will expand that fear. That's why reality doesn't change unless the observer transforms. Because the observer projects the order of their inner world onto the outer world. This transformation begins not with external effort, but with an inner awareness. When the observer learns to witness their own thoughts, they are no longer guided by their thoughts. This state of awareness allows energy to flow in a new way. The mind no longer asks, "How do I solve this?" It asks, "What is this trying to show me?" At that moment, the observer connects not with matter, but with wisdom. Because at the quantum level, every problem is an energetic disorder, and awareness realigns this energy. When you begin to understand something, its vibration changes. Therefore, understanding is the highest form of transformation. The observer's transformation is the internalization of this understanding. You no longer blame the external world, because you know that everything is an echo of your consciousness. People, events, and circumstances are merely holograms of your inner state. Feeling angry at them is like breaking a mirror. The image disappears, but the origin remains the same. If the observer transforms, the image automatically changes. This is because energy derives its direction from consciousness. When consciousness expands, reality expands. You no longer react to events. You simply observe. But this observation is not passive. It is a conscious existence. The observer is an active creator within silence. They shape things by their mere presence, without forcing anything. That's why you feel peace around some people and tension with others. Because everyone radiates their own observer frequency. Your energy constantly affects the space around them. Therefore, true change begins with transforming the observer, not the world. The first step in this transformation is accepting that everything begins with you. Because the awareness of responsibility is the maturity of the observer. You no longer say, "They did it," but "I am observing this." And in that moment, the direction of the energy changes. Internal awareness now dominates instead of external reactions. The quantum field also senses this new consciousness, because when your vibration changes, the structure of the field also reorganizes. Without the observer's transformation, the experience remains unchanged. But when transformation begins, even the mathematics of life changes. Coincidences increase, synchronicities multiply, and life begins to flow. The results no longer surprise you, because you know they are reflections of your inner frequency. The language of the quantum field is now in harmony with you. And when you, as the observer, say, "I am," the universe says, "Okay." Because when the field merges with the consciousness of the observer, a new reality is born. The observer's transformation is, in fact, the universe's own awareness. As you become aware, the universe becomes aware of itself. And in that awareness, there is no longer separation. You feel the oneness of the observer and the observed. This feeling is the highest state of consciousness. There is no longer an external world. Everything is an echo of your inner vibration. When you reach this awareness, the quantum field works not for you, but through you, because you are no longer just an observer, but the universe's own consciousness. And at this point, creation becomes not an effort, but a natural flow. This is the observer's transformation. Awareness replaces control, trust replaces fear, and flow replaces effort. From that moment on, nothing is difficult because everything flows in the same vibration as you. Surrender is not weakness, but trust in the universe's highest law. The human mind is a being that has learned to control. It wants to understand, solve, and plan everything. But the workings of the quantum field are unlike the mind's logic. There, the outcome is determined not by effort, but by resonance. The more you push something, the farther you push it. Because pushing is sending the universe a message that, "I don't have it yet." Surrender, on the other hand, is the silent act of saying, "I already have it." The universe hears this frequency. The field's purest vibration aligns with trust. While the mind asks, "How?" The heart simply says, "I know." At that moment, matter and energy begin to reorganize for you. When the quantum field aligns with your intention, possibilities take shape around you. But that alignment only occurs when resistance ends. Resistance is an invisible wall. Surrender is the dissolution of that wall. Therefore, letting things happen is not passive waiting, but an active act of trust. Because the universe rewards a trusting consciousness. Your job is not to do, but to allow. This is the deepest secret of quantum creation. When you allow, the field works on your behalf. When you stop pushing, your energy suddenly becomes lighter. Your mind becomes quiet, your body relaxes. Because now, all your parts are governed by the same center. This center is the heart of surrender. The heart speaks the language of the universe. Understanding that language requires feeling, not words. Surrender doesn't mean, I'm okay with whatever happens. Surrender means, everything is happening as it should. Because the universe's plan is always broader than yours. The mind can only see a few steps, but the quantum field manages infinite possibilities simultaneously. That's why sometimes an unexpected event is actually a divine realignment. Even if you don't understand it at the time, over time you realize, nothing is against you, everything is for you. It is in this awareness that cosmic surrender blossoms. The mind calls chaos disorder, while consciousness calls the same thing restructuring. Therefore, every collapse is actually the birth of a new frequency. When you surrender, the universe carries you. When you resist, it tests you. That's why a phrase in the energy field is so important. I trust. This phrase unravels a knot in consciousness. At the quantum level, trust is a high vibration. At that frequency, there's no room for fear. Because fear narrows possibilities, trust expands them. A peace arises within surrender. That peace is a sign of resonance with the universe. You no longer try to control, because you know that your job is simply to set the intention and let the receiver do the rest. Understanding this is not an intellectual process. It's a leap of awareness. At the quantum level, everything is alive. Energy interacts with consciousness. Your field of belief determines the direction of the energy. Therefore, surrender is a sign of energetic intelligence. An intelligent consciousness begins to feel everything intuitively, rather than trying to figure it out. Because feeling is the compass of the universe. When the heart vibrates, the quantum field responds. However, when the mind resists, energy freezes. Surrender releases energy. It's in that freedom that miracles occur. Where the pressure ends, the magic of the field begins. When you say, I'm done, the universe says, it's time. Because the cosmic system is sensitive to your frequency, and it immediately fills the void you leave. The universe doesn't like a vacuum. It only fills that void with trust. When you surrender, new energy flows into your field. That energy works with you. It's no longer you, but life itself that begins to flow. At that point, effort gives way to harmony. When you enter the flow, everything progresses in natural synchrony. Doors open at the right time. People enter your life at the exact right moment. This isn't coincidence. It's resonance. The universe speaks to you, but you only hear that language in silence. Silence is the echo of surrender. In those moments when your mind is quiet, the field hears you, because there's no longer any interference, only presence. This is the power of surrender. You gain control of everything without trying to control anything. Because the universe trusts those who let go of control, it rewards those who remain calm. So take a deep breath and say to yourself, everything is already happening for me. With this statement, your vibration shifts. The energy flow begins anew. Subscribe to this frequency, not just this channel, but your own energy of surrender. For this energy carries you into the natural rhythm of life. In cosmic surrender, time dissolves, resistance dissolves, and fear is silenced. And only one truth remains. The universe is not your enemy, but your ally. The universe operates with mathematical perfection. But this mathematics is written not in numbers but in frequencies. Every thought, every intention, even every breath is a variable of this mathematics. The quantum field is shaped by your inner equation. If there is resistance, fear, or haste at the conscious level, the equation's outcome is muddled. But if there is inner harmony, everything falls into place effortlessly. This is the mathematics of flow. The less you interfere, the more precisely the energy is calculated. Because the universe loves harmony, not complexity. Everything is interconnected by a vibrational ratio. The movement of atoms and the beating of your heart, the rhythm of the stars and the silence of your mind are all part of the same equation. Flow is the perfect functioning of this cosmic ratio. When the mind tries to control it, this ratio is disrupted, for control is a frequency alien to the natural rhythm. But surrender is remembering the formula of flow. When you surrender, the mathematics of life begins to work itself out. It's like an invisible geometry. Everything happens in the exact place, at the exact time. Even the closing of a door is for another door to match yours in frequency. When the mind says, I'm lost, the field says, I'm rearranging. Flow begins in this awareness, because as you become more aware, you see the equation shift. Nothing is a coincidence. Every event is a vibrational outcome. There's no room for coincidence in the energetic equation. Everything is connected by a chain of causality, but this causality is not physical, but frequential. A thought wave summons another possibility. Therefore, even your smallest intention participates in a giant calculation of the universe. Like a supercomputer, the quantum field reads every frequency you emit and matches it with appropriate outcomes. However, this calculation is not instantaneous. It operates through a vibrational resonance. That's why sometimes your desires don't come immediately, but only when your vibration matures. Because every frequency can only attract a result that aligns with it. Flow is the natural result of this resonance. When you stop trying, unnecessary variables in the equation are erased. All that remains is pure intention. And pure intention is the most powerful energy of the universe. Because there is no fear within, no expectation, only a pure state of being. When you maintain this state, energy begins to work for you. Everything becomes synchronized. Clocks, people, events are connected as if by an invisible order. The more aware you are, the slower time slows down. The more resistant you are, the faster it accelerates. Therefore, being in the flow is a state of consciousness, not a condition. Therefore, the mathematics of flow is actually the geometry of awareness. Every emotion is a vector within this geometry. Fear changes direction. Gratitude corrects the alignment. Love brings the entire equation into balance. Therefore, gratitude is not just a virtue. It is a balancing formula at the quantum level. The vibration of gratitude is a stabilizer in the universe's calculations, because there is no signal of deficiency in that vibration. When the field receives this signal, it resolves the equation as complete. This is why people in flow attract everything with ease, because their frequency is already resonating with the feeling of completeness. The mathematics of flow dictates this. As long as you think it's incomplete, the equation isn't complete. But when you feel it's already complete, everything falls into place. The mind struggles to grasp this because it thinks linearly, but the universe is circular. The quantum field operates in a circular equation. Every beginning is an end. Every end is a beginning. When you let go, the cycle is actually complete. Therefore, the secret of flow lies in everything knowing its own rhythm. Just as a river reaches the sea without rushing, you too reach what's happening in its own time. Because the universe never leaves you late, it only moves at a speed that matches your vibration. Therefore, rushing interferes with the mathematics of the universe. Haste disrupts the balance of the equation. Slowing down restores harmony. That's why the wise mind never strives for speed, but for harmony. Flow is the law of harmony, not speed. When your energy and the energy of the universe intersect, results emerge effortlessly. At that point, the consciousness of it happened, not I did it, is born. Because in flow, individual will merges with the collective consciousness. There is no longer a me, but a we. The individual feels part of the universe. They are not lost in this feeling. On the contrary, they feel whole for the first time, because flow teaches unity, not separation. Therefore, this is the highest mathematics of the universe, becoming one. At that point of balance, where everything complements each other and nothing is lacking, the quantum field operates in perfect silence. Your job is simply to surrender to that silence, because there, everything has already been calculated. The formula of the universe is simple: let go, align, trust. The field does the rest. The most powerful sound in the universe is silence. For silence is the purest form of energy. All creation arises from an invisible silence. That silence is the quantum field itself, where nothing is lacking, where everything exists in potential. The human mind often confuses this silence with emptiness. However, emptiness is not nothingness, but the beginning point of everything. The state of a thought before it is born, the spark of a desire before it is expressed, takes shape within that silence. Silent creation is learning to return to this pure field and create from there. Because the true creator speaks not with words, but with their presence. The universe hears vibration, not words, and the strongest vibration is the silent one. This is why a wise mind that meditates radiates energy to its surroundings, even without speaking. Because even its silence is a regulating frequency. Silence is not merely the absence of noise. It is a state of harmony in which consciousness vibrates at the same frequency as the universe. When you are in this state, you no longer desire anything, because you feel that everything is already within you. And at that moment, creation begins. Because where desire ceases, existence multiplies itself. The quantum field immediately perceives this frequency. It is complete. Your inner silence is the signal of the universe. That silence is the point where energy is intensely organized. When the mind silences, the heart begins to speak. When the heart speaks, the field responds. This response sometimes comes as a person, sometimes as an opportunity, sometimes as simply inner peace. But you notice it every time, without forcing anything. Something has moved for you. Just as a magnet attracts iron, your silent presence attracts harmonious energies. That's why the wisest creators speak little but feel much, because they know that energy hears intent before words. Silent creation is the state where intention is anchored at the heart level. In this state, there is no wish, no rush, only a profound knowing. I know it is done. This statement is the purest code of the quantum field. When the field hears this vibration, it reorganizes reality accordingly. Time now begins to work for you, because time is guided by awareness. A silent consciousness can bend time. Outwardly, nothing seems to change, but internally, everything transforms. Because the essence of creation takes place in invisible layers. The quantum field responds to your vibrational intent rather than your thoughts. That's why, sometimes, when you forget a desire, you realize it has come true. Because you're no longer pursuing it. You've possessed it. In silence, the desire to possess disappears. Only the consciousness of possession remains. This consciousness is the creative code of the universe. When you are in that consciousness, you no longer ask how, because you know that everything is already happening. The language of the universe is this silence, and when you speak that language, there's no need for words. You direct events through your energetic harmony. You don't speak to transform a person. You simply exist in their presence, and they change, because your frequency influences their field. That's why silence is not passivity, but energetic mastery. When the mind speaks, energy disperses, but in silence, energy gathers. This gathered energy is the raw material of creation. You don't try to control it, because it has already become one with you. You no longer create. Creation happens through you. This difference is subtle but sacred. When you become one with the flow of the universe, everything you do happens in natural harmony. You are now in the right place at the right time. You meet the right person. These are not coincidences. It is the mathematics of silence. Everything has an invisible order. And when you stop resisting that order carries you. You are no longer swimming against the flow of water. The water carries you. This is the power of silent creation, the ability to transform everything without forcing anything. Because silence is the original frequency of the universe. When you enter that frequency, you are no longer a separate entity, but a part of the whole. In this awareness, creation happens like a natural breath. There is no more doing, there is being. And this state of being opens the door to infinite creation. Right below, the quantum field is working for me, and witness this resonance. Because your awareness activates the energy within the silence. Beyond your every word, beyond your every breath, your silent presence speaks to the universe. And in that conversation, anything becomes possible.